the morning. That's when we had to wake up. That was crazy. Most people think military training is all about physical. No. As a guy from Africa, Ghana to be precise, basic training came with a few challenges just because I remember one night we had to do stalking where we were placed in the field and asked to make our way towards our chain of command who were situated on a hill. And the aim was to be able to move from our positions and get as close as possible to the training staff without getting seen. And this was in total darkness at night, in rough terrain. You can't really see where you are. You can't really see your surroundings. A distance of about 800 meters. Imagine crawling that distance. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tony and this is Tony's Diaries. So in today's video, I'm going to share my British Army basic training experience with you guys. Coming from a country called Ghana, having never ever traveled in my life, never traveled abroad before, and going through the whole process of applying for the British Army, getting my invites, applying for my visa, and flying for the first time to the UK. I would say it was quite daunting but exciting at the same time. I came to the UK a few months before my assessments just to acclimatize, get used to the weather and start training as well, just to pass my assessment. So I did that successfully. I went through the medicals and everything during assessment, passed it. You can check out my video talking about that as well. So I passed assessment and got a date to start basic training. Unfortunately for me, I was meant to start basic training in March of 2020, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic that hit the entire world during that time, I wasn't able to attend. So I was rescheduled to go attend basic training in June of 2020. After staying home for a long time and during the lockdown as well, all I was doing was training and preparing mentally and physically for arguably one of the toughest initial training in the world. On that fateful day, 5th of June, my brother transported me to Pirbright. That's where I attended my initial training. I remember feeling very nervous when I got there because that was my first time. I've never been in a I used to be in the cadets, but this is different. This is the actual army. So it felt quite, what should I expect? What should I not expect? But I was still nervous and excited at the same time because I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to go through that transformation of moving from a civilian to a soldier. So I remember that fateful day, I got shown my bed and a few things here and there, and we got given our first timings. And that's when the whole process began. First timing, 4 a.m. in the morning. That's when we had to wake up. That was crazy. Yeah, because I was so used to sleeping a lot. I used to wake up very, very late. The next day, everything just kicked off from there. Gradually, it just kept building up. The intensity just kept building up. So they started, because obviously they knew we were civilians, so they started slow. But as time went on, it started ramping up. And they basically build you up to it. So they don't just throw you into the deep end. So I remember we got taught tabbing, which is a tactical advance to battle, where you have your bergen behind you and with maybe 25 kg in there or 30 kg, you tactically advance. That was a great lesson during our PT sessions. And most people think military training is all about physical. No, there were a lot of classroom lessons as well. So there was a lot to learn. There were a lot of rules to learn. Navigation, skill at arms, how to dismantle the rifle, how to put it back. You need to know all the parts. So it wasn't just physical stuff. But every day we did physical training. And then straight into the classroom. You go to the block, you have just a few minutes to shower, come back out, go to the classroom, do your lesson. At the end of the week, there's a test you need to pass. So it was quite intense. And then you finish, come back to your block, have a rest. Next day, early morning, the whole cycle begins. One of the most memorable experiences I had during basic training was shooting a rifle for the first time with live rounds. And also we learned how to shoot at targets digitally using a simulator. So that wasn't live rounds obviously. But then to pass your ACMT, that was the day where you had to shoot your first live round. and pass a test. Another experience that I cherish from basic training was the bayonet training. Basically, the bayonet training was to test your aggression. So I remember that early morning, we kind of had to do a few serials that were meant to bring out the aggressiveness in us. I'm not going to go into details of what was done to us, but it was all geared towards bringing out the aggression in us. Because in times of war, you need to show aggressiveness. You need to be aggressive. You can't just be smiling at your enemy. Hello. And it was really interesting seeing the aggression, running with a rifle and a bayonet at the end. So yeah, that was also another memorable moment in basic training. There was a pivotal moment during basic training that tested my limits like never before, and that was final exercise. So the final exercise validates everything you are taught during your basic training. Everything you are taught from week 1 till you go on that final exercise, everything is tested. If you pass, happy days, you move on to your phase 2 training after pass of parade. But if you fail, you get back trooped and have to do the final exercise again. It was very tough because you are being watched at every single moment. I remember one night we had to do stalking where we were placed in the field and asked to make our way towards our chain of command who were situated on a hill. And the aim was to be able to move from our positions and get as close as possible to the training staff without getting seen. And this was in total darkness at night, in rough terrain. You can't really see where you are, you can't really see your surroundings, and we had to make our way all the way up to the hill, a distance of about 800 meters. Imagine crawling that distance. It was fun, but it was difficult as well. But in the end, I don't think anyone got close to the training staff without getting seen. Cultural difference, that's another biggie as well. I'm not used to the Western culture. I've lived all my life in Africa. Coming over, need to adapt. So that took time as well. Not forgetting the language barrier. We all know in Africa or in Ghana, we think we speak English. But trust me, when you come over here, you need to adapt your ears to the British English and having them understand you as well. I used to struggle. Anytime there's an order given, I'll just be the last one there behind, not getting whatever was said clearly. And I always have to ask for repetition, and that was a hindrance because, you know, in training, when you're given an order, time is against you. You need to quickly do whatever was asked of you. But I would say that the crowning moment for my basic training experience was the pass of parade. Unfortunately, my family were not able to come because it was during COVID and no one was allowed to bring their family over. So it was quite sad, but it still felt like what a pass of parade should be. It was so memorable because that was the day I realized I came all the way from Ghana, came to the UK, and attempted one of the toughest initial training in the world and came out successful. Not only did I just come out successful as well, I was one of the top students in my troop and I got best drill as well. So I didn't have to match with a rifle. I had a base stick instead and not in the squad. So that was a great day for me, and I will never forget that day. I would say basic training was fun and was eye-opening. As a guy from Africa, Ghana to be precise, basic training came with a few challenges just because I wasn't born in the UK. Some of the examples are the cold, cultural difference, and the language barrier. Back in Ghana, most people think, oh, we speak English. Yes, it's an English-speaking country. But just because of the difference in the accents, it was quite challenging. I used to struggle. Yeah, I would say that was my British Army basic training experience. After my pass of parade, we're sent home, and the next stage was phase 2 training. I had to go to Mainly Barracks to do my combat engineering. Yes, so phase 2 training for me was in the engineers, and I had to go do combat engineering. So in my next video, I'll be talking about phase 2 training in the Royal Engineers, doing my combat engineering course and passing it as well and getting my driving license and all that. So watch out for that. Looking back on my experience, I realized that surviving the British Army training wasn't just about making it through the tough times. It was about learning to overcome, to persevere, and to grow as a person. It was about discovering my strengths, weaknesses, and my limits. And it was about emerging stronger, resilient, and more confident than I ever was. If you are considering a similar path, I hope my story can inspire and motivate you. Remember, it's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. See you guys in the next one.